Hello everyone. It's Saturday lunchtime and it's been a busy week, so I'm going to try and unwind a little bit by taking the Aquila A211 on a little VFR local flight. No particular destination in mind, but just a little bit of a tootle around the skies over the northeast of England. I have been tweaking some of the configuration of this aircraft as well. So let me just try and find a better way of... There we go. So what happens with aircraft like this? So you basically got a the propeller causes lots of problems when you've only got one engine and one propeller. It causes a bunch of problems. So first of all, sorry, let me just do it this way first. So as we're flying along, the propeller goes clockwise, and as it goes clockwise around the aircraft, or on the front of the aircraft, it causes some aerodynamic and other forces on the aircraft. So one of the things that you have to do with the 211 is you have to maintain quite a lot of right rudder throughout the whole flight. Even when you're turning left, you have to maintain just a dab of right rudder, and that's because as this whirlwind of air is coming down the aircraft, it doesn't have anywhere to really stop it. On Cessnas, for example, we've got these big slabs of metal on the side that actually disperses that wash, but this is really aerodynamically efficient. And what that means is that wash continues all the way until it slaps into the side of your tailplane, of your vertical fin here. And that pushes you constantly, pushes the tail to the right and your nose to the left. So you have to counter it by steering your rudder to the right throughout the flight. Now there's a few ways that they could have solved this. For example, you often find on Cessnas they've got these, I mean there's kind of a hint of a one here, like a trim tab. So they could have put a little tab on here which, once the airflow started to go over the tail fin, it would have pushed the rudder out slightly. The more airflow, the more that little tab would have counteracted that effect on the tailplane. But from my experience, they haven't done that. Very aerodynamically pure, very clean, but requires bags of right rudder. Okay. Something you just accept. And actually the rudder pedal is not too heavy on this aircraft because it's so light, it's composite. It's only got a maximum takeoff weight of 750 kilos. So that's with passengers, luggage, the weight of the engine, all of the electronics, the hydraulics, the tires, everything is all, this entire package is 750 kilos. So it's not a particularly heavy aircraft anyway, so the controls are quite light. It's very, very nice to fly, very responsive. Now then, I'm just going to take this opportunity to just double check the audio. I'll be back in 10 seconds. Apart from having to hear my own voice, which is awful, then yeah, sounds okay. So yeah, so there's other things that you can do as well. So sorry, there's other problems with having a single engine. There's something called the P factor. So as this propeller is rotating and as you're going forward through the air, you'd expect the center of pressure to be in the middle of that spinner, in the middle, but that's not true, because as you've got as the propeller goes down versus up, you actually get slightly offset pressure as well. So the faster that the propeller spins, you actually get the pull force of the propeller actually shifts off center, and in this case it goes off to the left because it's in this case anti-clockwise from this side, clockwise from the other side. It shifts towards the left, so you actually get pulled in the in the left-hand direction, which also gives you, it just sort of reinforces that problem that you have with the air hitting the tail fin. So again, just you need bags of right rudder to counteract it. So what you actually find is engines aren't mounted straight in aircraft with one engine. They have what you call a side cant. So they're actually mounted slightly off center so that when the P factor comes in, it ends up on the center line of the aircraft. That's what they're trying to do. So they shift the engine off to the left or the right, depending on the spin of the direction of spin of the propeller, and that counteracts the P factor. And then you use trim tabs to counteract the impact on the tail fin. Now, on this aircraft, on the Aquila, from my research, there is no side cant on this Rotax 912S engine. It is mounted longitudinally in line with the rest of the aircraft along the center line, which means you get no relief from the P factor on this. Now, the people who built this model, so Picus, P-I-C-U-S, have added a 2.5 degree cant to the right on this engine, because if you don't do that, it's uncontrollable. You literally have maximum right rudder and you're still turning left. There's no way to counteract that. So they've put 2.5 degrees on. Now I think that makes it too easy, and in fact you're sometimes completely stable without right rudder during climbs and things like that, and that's just not the case. So what I've tried to do is I've reduced the side cant from 2.5 degrees to 2 degrees. We're going to test it out. Why do I have a ah, yeah, I was wondering why a little hand was appearing over the propeller. I think it's probably going to press a button inside the cockpit if I do that, so I don't want to press that. So this is also a test flight. We are going to try out the 2 degree cant to see how realistic it is compared to my experience of flying the A211. But first, let's get into the air. So we're here at Teesside. We are also on VATSIM, so I'll just bring up the X-Pilot window. Unfortunately, we only have EGCC, so that's Manchester South Approach, online at the moment. That's not going to be very helpful for us. We are Golf Tango Sierra Delta Alpha, so we are one of the Aero School Aquilas. So my last flying lesson was in Delta Alpha. Great aircraft. Really enjoyable flight down to York, and then on down towards the Humber from Teesside Airport. So let's see, what am I not doing? I've got no checklists for this. I do have them somewhere. They're in PDF format. But let's just go through the process of starting this aircraft up. So you always make sure that you've got these are full and free moving throttle controls and propeller controls. You also want to make sure that you've got full and free. Why is that? I was doing something strange there. Don't like that. I think I might recalibrate my joystick. Welcome to Joystick Calibration Simulator. We are going to calibrate. So I've got this Thrustmaster. I've had this for ages. I love it. But it looks like when I'm pitching forward, you see that pitch then suddenly resets to the middle. So we do need to calibrate this. Where's the calibrate button? Calibrate up there. Move each of your axes through its full range of motion. So that is the joystick doing that. I think my pitch axis might be goosed. So then we've got yaw, we've got throttle, and then we've got the nose wheel tiller. Okay, so you can see pitch is slightly towards the front, which is a bit weird. I think it has served me well, but I think this might be getting towards the end for this joystick. So there we go, recalibrated. See See, the pitch is still showing forward. Lots of forward. That's just not the case. We can come in here and change it so that it goes like that. And that did nothing. Okay, so let's just reset. Set that back to 50-50. Apply. So when we're pitching forward, if we pitch forward too far, it actually resets back to no forward pitch at all. Something to be aware of. But yeah, this is why we do the checks of the flight controls. Let's get some electricity into the systems. See what we've got on the right hand side here. So ignore the engine for now. They're just it's off anyway. Fuel, so it looks like we've got half in the left, half in the right. That'll do us. The voltmeter is on 0, which means that the battery is being discharged. The battery is meeting the requirements of the aircraft right now. Cylinder head temperature, remarkably, is on the low stop. Ammeter, we'll need to check these when we get started, and then we'll get the oil pressure once we get the engine started. Let's start the engine then. So we're going to open the throttle a little bit. We are going to turn on the fuel pump. We're going to put the keys in, so you can see the key disappear onto here. It's a nice little feature. And then the other thing that we need to do as well is we need to open the choke. There we go, engine started. Let's get those revs up to 1000 RPM, which we have there. And let's just quickly check these engine instruments again. So 1000 RPM, manifold pressure is low, but that will increase as we increase the throttle. We will wait for the oil temperature and pressure to get into the green before we move. Voltmeter is positive, so the battery is effectively charging, or the engine is maintaining all electrical power. Ammeter's in the middle, so that all looks good for now. But we'll just wait for these temperatures to rise. Turn on the avionics, and I think today, so standby 7000. So we've got the VFR squawk code, so all the controllers know that we're just pootling around. We're not on a flight plan. And we are going to go initially. Let's go and do a touch and go at Newcastle. So we'll go to direct to EGNV. Direct. There we go. I'm not going to bring the map up on there. I'm going to hide it on here as well. So I'll just, how do I hide it on here? Just bring the menu up. Maybe not. Okay, we'll just leave that on. The other thing I want to do is get the current pressure settings. So do WX EGNV. METAR, EGNV, 25th of the month, correct, 11:20 Zulu, wind is 250 at 18 knots, that's a really strong wind. Thankfully it goes mostly straight down the middle of the runway, but we are going to have some strong winds today. We'll have to take that into consideration. You can't just head north, we're going to have to point the nose towards the northwest in order to travel north across the ground. Pretty good sky conditions, so we've got unlimited visibility. We've got a few clouds at 100 feet, and we've got scattered cloud at 2,300. No, that's 1,000 feet, isn't it? And scattered cloud at 2,300. Temperature outside is 18 degrees Celsius, dew point is 12, so that works out. I've said this a few times on previous videos, but the air cools down by 2 degrees for every 1,000 feet that you climb. So there is a 6 degree difference between the current temperature and the dew point, which is the temperature at which the moisture condenses in this air. So you can start to see, you'd expect it to be around about 3,000 feet when you start to see clouds, and it is scattered at just under 3,000 feet. and a little bit. QNH is 1004. So we need to get that set up on here. How do I do that? Barrow? Barrow. 1004, which puts us at around 130, so I think it's 120. If I press M to bring up the map, zoom in on Teesside, click on the airport, go to details, you see the mean sea level elevation is 120 feet. So that is the elevation above sea level for the highest point of the touchdown zone on the main runway. So yeah, well within tolerance for that at 1004 hectopascals. So we're going to be heading north. We've got the engines on, fuel pump, propellers full forward. At this point I'm going to set the flaps to takeoff, so I'll press 2. Let's just see, before we taxi I want to see T's and P's in the green, so the oil temperature is still quite low. We do make sure on the real aircraft that we don't taxi before that goes into green, because it could indicate that the oil is not being circulated properly, or there may be an issue with it. Maybe the sensor's faulty, for example. Oil pressure though is in the green, which would indicate that there's oil flowing throughout the system. I've got plenty of fuel. Okay, let's have a look around. Any traffic? Nope. So we will go to Unicom 122.8 and we will announce our intentions. So 250 is the direction of the wind, so we will be taxiing along through Alpha 3, Alpha 2, and then Alpha 1, which is at the end of the runway for runway 23, and we will be taking off from there. I feel like I'm sitting. So this is exactly how you sit in the Aquila. This is how I sit. Got long legs but short torso. So this is I tend to sit down like this, which tends to mean that I actually nose down quite a lot, and you'll see that on some of the videos of me in the Aquila where I tend to lose altitude. It's because I'm used to a different sight picture in the Cessna, which I've done 30 plus hours in, compared to this, which I've only done a few hours in. So excuses over. Let's get in the air. So we're going to turn on the anti-collision light. We are going to put our nav lights on as well. Don't need the instrument lights. Don't need anything else. Let's quickly check the mags, make sure nothing's failed. I do have intermittent failure switched on, which is the reality of flying. So let's see. We're looking over here at the RPMs. We should see a slight drop in RPMs. Almost unnoticeable, but it's definitely there. And then we reset it back to both, and then we go to the right mag. Slight drop, which is good. You don't want a huge drop, but that looks good to me. We'll turn off the fuel pump after we've climbed out and we've reached our cruise altitude. But I think we're good. So let's do a quick radio call. Teesside traffic, Golf Tango Sierra Delta Alpha at the Western Apron, taxiing to holding point Alpha 1 for runway 23, Teesside. Brakes off. So you can see, even just with a little bit of power, we're starting to turn left. I've got no controls on now, no rudder, and we're already starting to drift to the left, and that's because of that prop wash hitting the tail. So although we're not travelling fast, the air is actually travelling fast over the aircraft. It just may not be enough propulsion to move us very quickly, but there's a lot of air being moved right now. So I'm full right rudder there. And then we'll just wind that out to stay on the centre line here. And the goal, which I'm failing to do, is to get that yellow line to run through your right knee. And we don't want to go too fast. So I've got no rudder pedal input there at all, and I'm going straight. That does not happen in the real aircraft. So we may need to just play with some of the settings as we fly. What I will be looking for is when we start the takeoff roll, do I need to put bags and bags of right rudder in, which would be accurate. So this apron on the right here is usually populated by Draken. They run some Falcon jets, dark purple, they look gorgeous, and they basically work with the RAF to do sort of training missions and electronic countermeasure testing and that sort of thing. Very, very cool operation. Draken is owned by Jared Isaacman, who's the current NASA administrator. Trump's just appointed him as the NASA administrator. Jared Isaacman, very interesting guy, owns his own private jets, including fighter jets. I think he owns a Russian converted military jet that he now flies around as his own personal transport, which is really cool. He's also been to space, so he went to space on one of the first Dragon tests for SpaceX, which I think was the first commercial space flight, or all commercial space flight. So I don't know if you can see, but I'm just moving my ailerons into the wind while driving off the centre line here, and that just stops the wind from picking up the wing, because the wind is pretty much coming from that direction. So what we would normally do is we would stop just before Delta 1, Alpha 1. It's Delta 1 at Newcastle, not at Teesside. Stop just before Alpha 1 and we'll do our power checks. That ticking noise is the fuel pump, so we'll turn that off because I appreciate it's a little bit annoying. So we're going to turn into the, just using a little bit of differential braking here, so apologies for the it's not working for some reason. Just trying to get the nose pointed into the wind before we do the power checks. Using my nose wheel tiller axis just to help out. Okay, nose wheel is straight, keep it at 1000 RPM. We're going to go right up to 1700 RPM, make sure the brakes are holding, so it's a good test for after landing, make sure we've got enough brake performance. While we're here, we've still got T's and P's are in the green, ammeter's charging, cylinder head temperature's coming up, got plenty of fuel, check those mags again, slight drop, it's a bit more noticeable with more revs on. Slight drop. Check for idle cutout, so we'll just pull the power right back, make sure the engine doesn't cut out when we do that. Doesn't, that's good. Back to 1000. Okay, double check, we've got takeoff flaps ready. We'll turn on our landing light at this point, and also we'll switch to the other fuel tank. Did turn off the fuel for a second there, but I think it's managed to keep going. Okay, so we're ready to just make sure we're not holding anyone up. Let's go flying. Make sure there's nobody on approach. Oh, actually, I'll just double check my audio settings in here. All good. Teesside traffic, Golf Delta Alpha, lining up, taking off runway 23, departing to the north VFR, Teesside. Already have a feeling I'm not going to like this side cant. Having to use a lot of left rudder just to keep straight, that's just not realistic. Okay, nice and lined up. heels on the floor, ease in the power. Yeah, I'm using left rudder right now to stay straight. Squeak. Yeah, loads and loads of left rudder. That is just completely unrealistic. So we've automatically gone into mode Charlie on the transponder, which is nice. Try and maintain around about 60 knots in the climb. It does have a very sensitive stall warning horn on this, which is kind of what you want. It is quite a good performance aircraft. It's not particularly it's not particularly fast, but it's got good performance. So you can see on the glass cockpit, you've got that little arrow there, and then underneath it you've got the little horizontal bar. Well, if you're used to stepping on the ball with a slip indicator, that line there is actually your slip indicator. So if it goes off to the left, you've got to step on the ball. That's the ball. So if I add some left rudder, you can see it starts to line up underneath the arrow, which is not realistic at all. You do not have left rudder input during the climb on this aircraft. You have all of your right leg muscles aching because you're putting so much right rudder in. So see, now I'm turning to the right and the slip indicator says that we're balanced, which is not right. Let's get away from the airport and then we'll make that change before the VATSIM administrators tell us off. But we're in the air, we're climbing. Could probably climb a little bit better. So if we maintain, I'm currently doing a 70 knot climb. We could do a 60 knot climb, which is VY, best rate of climb in this aircraft. But I'm not liking the fact that I'm sliding to the right, slipping to the right, while flying straight. So let's be good citizens. I am going to very quickly pull up Plane Maker. So let's pause this. Let's do something on the fly. So Plane Maker. So disconnected from voice server. Switch this over to Plane Maker. Why is that not one of the options? I can't actually show you that window. Okay, let's be really super quick about this then. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be quite brutal, and I'm going to take that side cant down to 1 degree. Hit save, and then back in the sim I'm going to go up to developer. You can't see it because Xpilot's in the way. We're going to go up to developer and then reload the current aircraft. Skip art reload. So we're not going to reload the textures, we're just going to reload the aircraft. It's going to take a second just to load in the new configuration. And it's turned the engine off, which is slightly unhelpful. Just very slightly unhelpful, given that we're in the climb. But we can sort that out as fast as humanly possible. So let's unpause and then deal with this minor catastrophe. Now the engine seems to be running, which is a good start. I'll take that. Just reset our seating position. So I'm still feet off the pedals, but I don't feel like I'm needing a lot of right rudder or any rudder at all to keep straight. So let's get some. Okay, get those wings level. Bearing in mind we do have a strong wind from the left as well, which will be trying to turn, or should be turning the nose to the left as well. None of that is actually happening. AHRS, keep wings level. I'll do my best. I've upgraded it to the latest version of Auto Ortho to see if that fixes the crashes. So this is all satellite imagery. These are real fields, real roads. Annoyingly, it looks like we won't be able to see our slip indicator, which is quite annoying. But at least we've got a compass. We've got a digital DI direction indicator. So we're going to just head north. Try and stay under these clouds, so not above 3,000. Now these clouds weren't even on the weather report. Some nice features. You can see the lines from the harvesting, which I think we're all now experts on how to harvest and stuff after watching Clarkson's Farm, right? I still feel like I'm drifting to the right. Quite annoyed that the slip indicator is not showing. Because there isn't a backup. Can I... I would love for the... So the 211 that I fly does not have a glass cockpit. It's all 6-pack steam gauges. So I don't like glass cockpits, to be honest. I appreciate them. I know they give you much better situational awareness and all that sort of stuff, but for exactly this situation, the technology works against you. What's this here? That looks like a complex road. That might be the A19. So we've got the sea off to our right, which is a nice gross error check. We're going to try and head towards that white area there. So because the wind is coming from our left, we're going to have that slightly to the right of where the nose is heading. Then we'll just adjust. So it looks like we're going to head into the cloud. We're not. We're going to go past the cloud. So around about there, and we should feel like we're tracking towards those white roofs. Again, 0 rudder input right now, which is very unusual. In fact, I'm off VATSIM right now, so I'm going to just quickly make that tweak. Let's take away all the side cant. File, save. Just double check. Helps if you've got the right model open. So it was the A210. It's the A211 that I'm flying. So I'm running this on Linux, and the file navigator, the file explorer, has gone really slow lately. Not sure why. Come on. It's crashed. Oh, that fuel pump noise is quite annoying now. A211 aircraft file. Can I really not show you this? Because it might be interesting to some of you. Properties, window. Nope, it's not an option. So apologies, you have to just bear with me while I make these tweaks. Oh, I've got it. There we go. So we are in Plane Maker. So if we go up to Standard, Engine Specs, and then Locations, you can see in here that the vertical cant is 2 degrees. I'm fine with that. Side cant is currently 3 degrees. Let's bring it down to 1. I want to try and make a major change. Do I need to close that first, then save? And then what we'll do is we will reload, skip the art, and then we'll see how that flies with 2 degrees less engine side cant. So we will get the P factor now. Okay, I'm going to hit unpause. Now then, let's see how this flies. Still not feeling. You do notice this, and you do notice the drag to one side in the real aircraft. This. So what I'm looking at right now is I'm looking down the nose to this, that slightly lighter bit of ground up there. And if I keep the wings level, in the normal aircraft that would be sliding off to the right, requiring right rudder to keep it in the middle of the windscreen. But oh, hang on, bit more power, bit more power. How's that working? Still not feeling the need to add right rudder. One thing I haven't done is let's get the prop back into the green, which you should do after about 300 feet, and then we'll get the throttle back to about 23 inches of manifold pressure. Now what's interesting there is that we were starting to bank to the left. So there is some pressure, some force on the aircraft that is dragging us to the left. What if I just did a bit of right rudder? It'd be really, really helpful at this point if we had a slip indicator. But I know that we are near Fishburne because I can see that white down there. I think it's the quarry. So let's just see where Fishburne is. There's Fishburne right in front of us, or right to the left, right to the right of us now. So let's drop into Fishburne, reset our. There's the runway just there, and the buildings, the hangars that they've got there. Can't remember if this is a right or a left circuit. I do have the charts, but we'll assume it's a left-hand circuit, because that's the standard circuit pattern because this is the side that the pilot sits on, so they've got better visibility in a left-hand circuit. So I've now gone fully idle, pull out the carb heat. There's A road. I was going to say it was the A1, it's not. So we'll get that. There we go, and just see the end of the runway there. Going to land on runway, I think it's 28. No, it won't be 28, it will be 26. 2608. So we are well within the flap operation. White mark, so we'll just do one notch of flaps. Just watch these pylons off to the left hand side here. Don't want to be getting too low in a stall next to them. I do find as well that the real aircraft does feel like it has more power than this, but maybe I've exhausted my excuses now. You see the runway just in front of us, that strip of nicely mown grass. Clubhouses at the end, and the new Flight Ranch Cafe. It used to be the Aviator Bistro, now it's the Flight Ranch. So we've got a slight, well, I was going to say a slight crosswind. We don't. We've got the tiniest bit of crosswind. So I'm just going to put the carb heat away just in case we need to do a go around. Now one thing that flying from Eshot has taught me to do is... Oh, I did not have enough elevator authority there. Okay. That's fine, we're down. A bit harder than I would have liked. Is to try and land as early as you can. Now then, I am requiring quite a lot of right rudder here. But we're not going anywhere, which suggests to me like I've popped a tyre. Quick look outside. Possibly that one. Check the failures. Systems, landing gear. Those are all showing as working. Didn't seem that hard a landing really. Let's fix all systems. Apply changes. Ah, some parking brake was on. I guess that's probably from when we reset the model. Maybe that's automatic, but all good. So we're not going to spend any time at Fishburne. We are just going to do a loop. And then we'll restart the systems, try and get the slip indicator to show, and then we'll do some more testing of the side cant. So here I have the stick all the way back, just to lift that nose wheel off the grass a little bit. You don't want to put too much strain through that nose wheel. Now then, at this point I am going to reconnect to VATSIM. Just check that I haven't spawned in front of somebody. Those pylons are just awful to look at the end of the runway. So we will switch off the avionics. Can I switch this off? PFD. Is there a way of forcing this? So turn off the electrics. The engine still runs because it's a magneto-based system. So that's exactly how it should work. If you have an electrical failure, the sparks of the engine, it effectively powers its own ignition system. So keep the wings level. See if this fixes it. I'm just going to set the parking brake because, to be honest, my feet are just getting tired. There we go. So we've got a slip indicator, we've got the PFD. Okay, let's see what this now does. We've also got Manchester Centre online. Scottish Control. So we may get a ping from them at some point, just to say, please speak to me. But for now, do a quick radio call. Oh, we're not connected. I don't have avionics. There we go. And we are going to go to Alt, Mode C. Fishburne traffic, Golf Delta Alpha, lining up runway 26 for immediate takeoff. Fishburne. Okay. So we'll keep that. Let's see. See, the slip indicator is already saying it should be off to the left. Just trying to fly a bit early. So I am actually using right rudder to stay straight, which is correct. That slip indicator is not correct. And now we're in the air. So let's remove all right rudder. All right rudder off. We are drifting slowly to the left. And the slip indicator is indicating me now need some right rudder. Quite a lot of right rudder. So this is feeling slightly more realistic. So we'll just set the pitch trim. Bring those flaps up so we'll get a nose down moment. Let that speed come up a little bit. Retrim for about 70 knots. And then we're going to turn to the north. Nothing in our way. So my right foot is pushed down pretty much constantly now. This is how you fly the Aquila. Which is why you always end up with huge right calf muscles when you're a general aviation pilot. We'll fly approximately north, give or take a degree. Let's keep climbing out. See you later, Fishburne. And we're going to head up across the Tyne River towards Newcastle. A lot of people are quite surprised that you can just turn up at an airport or an airfield and just grab a plane and just tool around the sky like this. But this is exactly what we do. Now obviously in order to get anywhere near a plane, you've got to go through checks. In order to get anywhere near a plane by yourself, you've got to go through theory tests, and you've got to understand air law, and you've got to be under the supervision of a certified pilot, licensed pilot, and licensed flight instructor. But even when you're on a flying lesson, it does feel pretty cool just being able to be like, okay, let's just head in that direction, or let's just head in that direction. Let's just climb to 3,000 feet. You can just do all these things without having to like file a flight plan or anything. VFR flying is really cool. Obviously, if you're in controlled airspace, you need permission to do any of those things. You will be instructed and you must obey those instructions. Hence, controlled airspace. But this is uncontrolled. We are in Class G airspace right here. Underneath airspace, so there is actually airspace above us, controlled airspace above us. So do you know the wedding cakes? You've got like the big layer on the bottom, slightly smaller layer on top, and then on top you've got like a little cake that gets plonked on top. Airspace is an upside down wedding cake. Around airports you've got the small circle of cake, and then you've got a bigger circle of cake above it, but there's like a gap where you can literally fly underneath that second tier of airspace. And then you've got other airspaces above, so you've got like I say, that upside down wedding cake is the right way to think about airspace. So those white roofs there, either those white roofs or those white roofs in the distance, I think one of those will be it will be the ones in the distance, I think, because these are too close. But if we look for the white roofs of the Team Valley Trading Estate, like a business commercial estate. And that is going to tell us when we are near the Tyne River, the Tyne Bridges. Might be that white roof in the distance. Let's just have a quick look. It's not that one. Much more likely to be that one in the distance. So I also feel like I am heading, my track along the ground is probably taking me to the right of those white roofs right now. So the wind is from the left, nose is in that direction, our track across the ground is that direction. So I'm just going to correct by turning the nose a bit more into the wind, a little bit of left rudder just to help the nose to the left, because it's slightly frustrating. So this isn't, it's not feeling super realistic. Normally just slightly release the right rudder pedal and then it just helps the nose go around, but on a Saturday lunchtime with a cup of tea, this is, or a cup of coffee in this case, this is as close to actual flying as you can get. Certainly a lot cheaper. And I think what we'll do is we'll get to Newcastle, we'll do a touch and go, we'll do a pattern, we'll do a circuit around the pattern, and then we'll do a full stop landing. But I am really enjoying flying this Aquila. I still think it needs to, the handling and the side cant of the engine, it all needs just a little bit of fine tuning. But it is a lot of fun to fly. There's enough technical complexity to it which makes it interesting. Now I've just realised that our fuel on the right tank is below the quarter, and on the left tank it is a bit higher. So at this point I'm going to switch over to the left tank where there's more fuel. So if I just sit up in the chair, trying to get my bearings here, so that could be the, that's the A19 there. It's likely to be the A1. This is what happens when you don't do proper navigation planning. Which I think we'll do next time. I think we'll do a proper navigation flight, because I am rusty and I need to rekindle those skills that were starting to get quite sharp 12 to 18 months ago, but are now, as I say, quite rusty. quite close to the sea there, which suggests that this is coming up here to sort of Sunderland, that sort of area. So Sunderland Harbour's there, so this will be the conurbation of Sunderland. We are heading towards the Tyne Bridges, which if you head more or less north, you're eventually going to hit the Tyne. That over there will be Durham, so we may see... You can see the river which goes through Durham. Is Durham Cathedral modelled on here? I don't think it is. I may add that. You can't update X-Plane scenery and submit it and get it into the actual game. I did that for Eshot. Probably a bit too high on manifold pressure right now. Now that right in front of us, that's starting to look like the Team Valley. So this is the A1. That's the white roofs of the Team Valley with the A1, the main road between London and Edinburgh, going around it there. And then you can see just beyond it, that slightly lighter line, that is the Tyne River. The River Tyne, even. So we're going to keep heading towards those white roofs. And then we'll report the Tyne Bridges. And we could do that now. Newcastle traffic, Golf Delta Alpha, Aquila 210, 2 miles south of the Tyne Bridges, 3,000 feet, QNH 1004, inbound for landing at Newcastle, ETA 5 minutes, Newcastle. So normally you don't give ETAs in 5 minutes, you actually give your ETA as in your time of arrival. So in this case it's 12:33 Zulu now, we would say ETA minute 38, that's what I should have done, minute 38. But everyone understands 5 minutes is 5 minutes. Also not 3,000 feet, we're at 2,000 feet. That cloud base is quite low, and I'm just looking out the window here. I don't live a million miles from where this is here, and it's about right. We don't want to exceed our VFR limits here. So interestingly, I think... So this is where the Angel of the North is. It's a large... now it's a rusty looking thing. Because this is satellite imagery, I wonder if that's it there. I wonder if that's what that is. It's fantastic to see. I've got a good photo on the Instagram, on the Chocks Highway Instagram, which shows it from the air when I flew over it a while ago. But this is the Team Valley. I know this roundabout very well, and this is where all the shops are. You go here before Christmas and spend all your salary. That's called Kingsway, the main road through the middle. And then I think you've got Queensway, which is one of the parallel ones. But yeah, this is pretty realistic. You could use this quite easily for real visual references as you're flying along. And up ahead we've got the Tyne, with the Tyne Bridges, which you can see not accurately modelled, but you can see over here we do have a bunch of bridges which are representative of the Tyne Bridges. The real Tyne Bridges are much nicer looking. So as we continue north, we will start to see, I mean, just the sun coming through there and the shadows caused by the clouds. That is very realistic. I like that a lot. So as we fly north, we'll start to notice that Newcastle Airport will be off to the left. We'll do a quick touch and go. Just quickly check the map, see if anybody's around. Don't see anyone around, but we will still make the requisite calls. So that down there, I believe, is the Centre for Life. It's a science centre. Got some cool stuff for kids, and also it's a real scientific research centre. Yep, this is nice. Newcastle traffic, Golf Delta Alpha, Tyne Bridges, 2000 feet QNH 1004, joining left base runway 25. Newcastle. So we're going to join for left base, or join at left base for runway 25. So push that forward, open the carb heat, and then bring the power back so we can start our descent. I think that's the airport over there, but we'll not miss it. It's a bit more visible in real life just because you've got the lights and you don't have the problems of draw distance and things. No, that's it there. You can see the runway. So we need to be we'll not slow down just yet. Bring that prop back a bit just so we're not going to destroy the engine. Get about 23 inches of manifold pressure. So it is right under the nose. So we need to be turning to the right. See, there's the control tower. So as long as we've got it visible off to the left of the nose, because we've got that left, we've got the wind from the left, we should arrive at left base for runway 25 pretty easily. So you can see that's the end of the runway there. It's hard to see, but there's like a line which ends there, and that's the end of the runway. Good observation point on the road just beyond it. So now we can start just pulling back. We'll do a bit of a cruise descent. Don't really want the nose to be too far off the end of the runway because we are getting blown from the left. There we go. Pull the power back, pull the power back. I'm going to fly straight over this road here, which looks like the A1. And we will immediately learn the lesson from Fishburne. You lose elevator authority in this at fairly low speed, so we'll be a bit more gentle on the descent. Level off above the ground and let level off in the ground effect, and just slow down and just gently bring the wheels down, the tyres down. Newcastle traffic, Golf Delta Alpha, left base runway 25, touch and go, Newcastle. All the information anybody needs. So we are still flapless at this point. Flaps 1. So this is effectively base leg. We are going on a base leg, orthogonal to the runway, but it just looks like we're going in a bit diagonally. Still at 1,000 feet, but actually that runway is huge. This is a very small plane, so we can lose that altitude. And it doesn't really matter if we touch down a bit further down, especially when the general aviation apron is further down the runway. So let's get lined up first, that's the most important thing. Another notch of flaps. Newcastle traffic, Golf Delta Alpha, final runway 25, Newcastle. We're a bit low, so we'll just leave that nose up a little bit, just to arrest our descent rate. And the airflow coming down the runway, the oncoming air is straight down the runway, so no excuses here really. There we go. Slightly gentler than why is that not bringing the flaps up? There we go, flaps up, take off, 60 knots. Because we've left the carb heat out and our prop wasn't fully forward. There we go. So we're going to do a right-hand circuit here, because at this time of year most of the traffic is coming from the south. Because it's the holiday season, you definitely wouldn't be allowed to do touch and goes like this around Newcastle during the summer months. Flaps up. Start the right turn. That's all the parking areas on the ramp there, and you'll just see the control tower coming into view there. So I'm used to flying a 1500 foot circuit. Am I? No, I'm not. A 1000 foot circuit. What I was saying is I'm used to flying a 1500 foot joining altitude or joining height, which is what Eshod is, but most airfields use 1000 feet. Finding this quite difficult to do without my throttle quadrant. So it feels a bit lower than 1000 foot. So 1000 feet is the circuit height at Newcastle, but this does feel quite low. I'm going to turn onto downwind, which will be around about 46 degrees. I say around, exactly 46 degrees on the heading. There's the runway there. Newcastle traffic, Golf Delta Alpha, downwind runway 25, Newcastle. Don't see any traffic. Try taking this joystick to bits and putting some WD-40 on it to stop it squeaking. I can't figure out what inside it is squeaking, but it's still squeaking. So we're a little bit higher than circuit height at this point, by about 300 feet. So because we're doing full stop, prop fully forward. There's the runway just to the right of the nose. Check for anything coming in on the approach. Start that descent. Still flaps up. Flaps 1. And then onto final. Still nothing coming on the approach. And this will be a full stop. Newcastle traffic, Golf Delta Alpha, final runway 25, full stop, Newcastle. So we'll try and keep it 2 whites, 2 reds on the pappies. The precision approach path indicators. Drifting off to the right just a bit because I had too much right rudder on. Okay, there we go. That feels quite stable. So I'm just going to control the descent rate with a bit more power. Just leave the controls roughly where they are, just trying to adjust for a little bit of wind. Use that throttle to bring us up or down. Try and get it more stable than this. Stirring the paint, as we say. Over the road where the cool observation point is. Bearing in mind as well that the pappies are designed to bring in the airliners. So if you are showing a little bit low, it's not the end of the world. So they even there were miles above the numbers and it's showing too low. But we're not an Airbus A330 or something, so not too concerned. But our parking is quite far down this runway, so I'm going to just bring it in. That was quite soft. Now, normally you don't bring the flaps up when you come in, which I find strange. And actually the last instructor I had found it strange as well, because normally you want to reduce any surface area that would be in the wind, especially on a gusty day like this, windy day like this. So we're going to head down and opposite the Bravo high-speed turn-off on the right-hand side, which the EasyJets and the British Airways will take over to the terminal on the right. Opposite that high-speed turn-off you've got the Foxtrot apron, the Foxtrot taxiway on the left, which is where the general aviation terminal is. That is Golf, and that's where sometimes we get the Q80 Air Force coming in with their C-17 Glowmasters. There's Echo, and then where that Delta, is it a Delta CRJ? That's where we're pulling off. And there's the high-speed Bravo on the right-hand side. It's a good indicator that you're coming up to the GA apron on the left here. Looks like a Delta CRJ to me. No idea what that's doing here in Newcastle. Especially when it kind of blocks the road. So still using quite a lot of left rudder here just to stay straight. So I might, next flight, I'm probably just going to remove that side cant entirely and just see what it does for the handling. Conscious as well that we will be getting the wind blowing us from right to left, which will be turning our nose, but that could be it actually. And there we go. We'll stop there. And then we will put that back in, put that all the way forward. Leaving that fuel tank for now. Put the parking brakes on. Get the power up to 1,000 on the RPM. Do a quick mags check. You do that for the next person who flies the aircraft. And if you run a little scout around like this, that will be you, so even more important. Turn off the landing lights, turn off the ACLs, nav lights, turn off the avionics, and that's on idle. Turn the fuel pump off. Turn all this off. There we go. Parking brake is on, and I think I can toggle the canopy. There we go. Welcome to Newcastle. And there's virtual dude. He's just had a good flight in there. So I think that's it for today. That was enjoyable. I'm sure it wasn't as fun to watch, but certainly enjoyed doing it. And I'll see you next time.